human behavior is always seeking a win. We hate, like in a boxing match, and it says a draw. A draw, no, going to overtime. We hate when it's tied. But you think about this. We want things to be fair and equitable, but we're always rooting for there to be a definitive, unified winner. And the truth of the matter is, in business, you really do want it to be a tie where everyone walks away feeling good about the deal. It shouldn't be like the gladiator. I killed him. Think about the terms for you. I killed it.
Unleash your potential with MetaMindstream, disrupting possibilities. Dive into the fusion of positive neuroscience and business strategies with Anne Scotland and Dr. Lyman Montgomery. Break free from limiting beliefs, expand extraordinary lives, and boost business profitability.
Welcome back to MetaMindstream, disrupting what's possible. Right, Lyman?
Yes, disrupting what's possible.
We had a huge old talk about that when we first came up with the name, because we're like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean disrupting what the good things? But it's actually disrupting the mindset, right? Isn't that what we decided?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Disrupting mindsets, our beliefs.
All the garbage that's up there.
All the garbage that's up there of what is possible. Whether it's what our parents told us or our boss told us or someone at school told us, we have all these preconceived ideas of what we can and can't do. So amazing. So welcome all of you to MetaMindstream and our mission here at Focus Meta Mindset, profitability simplified. Isn't that just the best? Win-win.
It really is. Yeah, it's a win-win. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the business section. So I'm excited.
Yes. And we do this by combining the principles of positive neuroscience, which is a fascinating field, with actionable business strategies. So you get the best of both worlds here. And we have two parts to the show. If you're new with us today, we have the business segment followed by the lifestyle segment, seeing what can we do with a meta mindset to make a tremendous difference in our life. So glad you're here today. Please like and subscribe. Share this link with someone that you like who might have enjoy watching it as well. So today's topic is conflict resolution, business and personal. Lyman, give us a little introduction on that.
Yeah, in any type of relationship, especially in business, there will come a time where you will enter into a disagreement. It might be over a contract. It might be over a joint venture, especially who gets the list, who controls the money is probably the biggest one that most conflicts or partnerships happen. So we're going to talk about how to work through those types of conflicts to come to a positive mutual resolution. So it's going to be a powerful segment dealing with business conflict.
Absolutely. And so what are some of the problems that we find in conflicts that create the biggest problems? Like, what are the kind of challenges, like people refusing to listen, unwillingness to make agreements? What would you say?
Yeah, I think there are three major, if you look at them as buckets, there's probably three major types of conflict that you would see in any type of organization. The first and the biggest one is lack of clear expectations. There's a lack of clarity. And so I'm thinking you should be doing one thing to move the dial in, and maybe you have a totally different perspective, and we're missing each other because there were no clear expectation that you and I agreed upon. So that would be one.
Yeah, no, that's a really true one. No expectation. In fact, I think that we may talk about this later when we come to the actionable steps, but having a plan in place, if you're part of a team already, of how you both are willing to agree to conflict resolution. Like, what are the steps each that are as important to each side? What steps are they going to take?
Yes, that is correct. You know, what do I expect from you? What do you expect from me? What do we expect as a tangible outcome? So that's number one. The second is we're missing each other as far as our communication style. Maybe I assume that you saw me, putting things together in the office or in the conference room and setting the stage. That was an invite for you to come and help. but I never said, hey, Ann, can you help me set up the room? I just
Mm,
assumed that you would take the initiative by seeing me doing it, but you had no idea what I'm doing. So that would
sure.
be the second one
Mhm.
is we're missing each other because I never shared with you, can you help me? So lack of communication would be second. First,
Yeah.
expectation, and second, communication, especially how we should communicate one to the other end.
Yes, I think of, when people are drawing up like a collaboration or partnership agreement,
Mm-hmm.
like it's the exit strategy that gets written right into the plan, right? We all know that at some point in the future, we might not all love each other as much as we do today. Well, we'll love each other, but we may not all like each other as much. We just want to we want to plan for that. And if it doesn't happen, great. But if it does, we actually have something that's written down that says, this is how the things would be distributed. This is, what it takes to wrap up a collaboration or a partnership and allow people to go their separate ways. So
Yeah,
again,
that needs to be communicated. You're right. You're right.
right, it's communicating in advance of the problem, which is, I think I've already moved too quickly into solutions. So, but this is going to be really fun. We're going to talk about a bunch of actionable steps for conflict resolution, and in our business segment now, and then followed
Mhm.
by so much fun,
Yeah.
conflict resolution in our personal lives, not just with our significant others or etc., but everyone in life. It's not just a business challenge. But first, we're going to take a really quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Unleash the power of strategic neuroscience with focused Meta Mindset Inc. Boost your decision-making, sales, sustainable growth, and customer engagement. Scan the QR code now for an exclusive consultation. Elevate your profitability with focused Meta Mindset Inc.
Hi, welcome back to Focused Meta Mindset, and you are watching Meta Mind Stream with myself, Ann Scotland, and Dr. Lyman Montgomery. And today we're talking about conflict resolution in business in particular first, followed by conflict resolution in normal life. So, Lyman, tell us a little bit about some of the actionable steps we can take to either avoid or solve. I feel like there's two categories. There's how to avoid conflict resolution on the one hand, and then there's, I'm already in a conflict with someone. It's
Mhm.
like I'm planning it usually. Darn, what do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah. Before I do that, let me get to the third ones. I gave you two as far as setting clear expectations, clear communication, especially to exit. And you need to plan that before. The third major challenge that we see is over finances, the money.
Mhm.
There's no clear plan forward when you start making money. It's easy when you have 0, 0, 0. But when you start making money, is there a plan in place for distribution? Is there a plan in place for how expenses are paid? Is there petty cash? So those are the top three: expectation, communication, and finance tends to be the big three when it comes to business conflict. Now, when it comes to a solution and working through, hear the word work again, working through, the first one is there has to be a win-win solution going into it, Ann.
Mm-hmm.
And what I
Yeah.
mean by a win-win is the solution beneficial to both of us?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really good because a lot of times conflict happens because we have. I want to jump straight into lifestyle here. I'm thinking of argument I had recently with my mother, who I love dearly. But yes, okay. When we're determined that we are correct, that's one of the biggest pitfalls, right?
Yes. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm always right, you're always wrong. Using those absolute terms. For example, you always, you never. Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I never. How do we end up in business if I never or if I always? And it's always negative. It's not like, you're always seeing the bright side of every cloudy day. It's always attached to something negative. You never listen to me. You're always going ahead of me, making decisions, and we're supposed to be a partnership. And so that goes to that communication. So making sure you have a win-win. The second is open dialogue. It shouldn't be a monologue where one person sits there and the other person is talking at the partner.
Yes, no, I definitely. It has to be an open conversation. I used to have conversations about highly unrecommended topics with a certain relative of mine, politics, religion, and it was never a conversation. They literally had mastered the art of talking over me, and they could do it for 2 hours, like where I couldn't even get a word in edgewise because they were very passionate. And I understood that, but that is not communication. That's like just a dictatorial mindset, or you're welcome to have your own belief system. But if you think this is a conversation, it's not. But I want to back up real quick, too, to the actionable steps that we're sharing today, which is the acronym WORK, WORK. And the first two that we've already covered is win-win. That's the W's, solutions with Lyman that Lyman already covered. And now we're on O, open dialogue.
Right. And making sure that it's mutual, that even if you have to set the agenda, and we do this in our meetings, because I can talk a lot. I am a talker. And you may say, okay, Lyman, let's limit to 2 minutes. All right. And that's great for me because now it guides me through the conversation so that it's not, I'm just a talking head, but that it's an engaging, open conversation. And so for those of you that are watching or will listen to this, you want to make sure that it is a dialogue, even if you have to set time limits for yourself.
I was thinking about the salt timer, like on a board game where you flip it over, like a 2-minute salt timer.
Right.
I'm thinking the hourglass.
Or a little hourglass. Get your little hourglass.
Like if you have a good rapport with the person and you both have a fair, reasonable sense of humor, even that can be a fun thing to keep on your desk or your kitchen counter.
It is. Absolutely. That is hilarious. But again, it helps keep you focused. It helps move the conversation along. And that leads to the third one, which is probably the most important. And that is respect the other's position. It doesn't mean that you agree with it, but respect the person's opinion or the other person's position. And we've said this at just about every podcast. We don't always have to agree, but we definitely must be in alignment. And that's where that respect comes in.
Absolutely. Being in alignment. And alignment even is the willingness to forge a solution. Because sometimes, and again, it's so easy to pull lifestyle examples out of this, but I've seen couples who had fought for decades. And they wouldn't break up, but they also wouldn't find a solution. So they were caught in this cycle of hell, basically, right? Where neither one was committed to finding the solution. And then there's the thing of what's fair. Well, if I'm willing to compromise and they're not willing to compromise, I shouldn't compromise myself. So now we're right back in the argument again.
And I think some of that happens where we try to put equity in fairness. Even though they tend to run together, we say fair and equitable. Give you an example. A great example is cooking. My wife is a chef extraordinaire. She can put things together. She watches cooking shows. She invests in recipe books and she loves it. And she will try different things. I'm not that guy. All right. And so if I try to say, well, it's only fair if I try to match your level of cooking, it's not going to work. I don't have the passion for it. I don't have the temperament for it. Now, converse that when it comes to doing laundry. I'm bragging. I am extremely good at doing laundry.
Can you come to my house, please?
I am better at folding. I will sit there and get a folding board, make sure that the lines are perfect. Because I enjoy doing it. It releases me. My wife, she washed clothes, put it in the hamper or take it upstairs, hang it up. And I'm sitting there, but aren't you going to fold them before you take them upstairs? What for? I'm putting them on a hanger. So again, if we're trying to be fair and equitable, we're going to miss each other and create conflict. And I think that's part of the problem is we're trying to say, well, but I do more than you.
Well, let's dive into that. I think this is a really good conversation, actually. Diving into, for some people, that's they're easily recognizing the difference between equity and fairness. But for some others, it may be like, wait, they'll sound awfully similar. Like equity means being equal, and fair means like being equally splitting responsibilities.
Distribution,
Let's
right.
dive into that. Yeah, let's dive into the difference between equity and fairness as you see it.
Yeah, the way I see it when it comes to business is based on your skill set. So what's fair is I'm better at doing, let's say, accounting. You're better at doing marketing. So why don't I focus my energy on accounting? Whereas if I'm trying to say, well, it's fair, which means I'm going to do 50% accounting, you do 50% accounting, which you may not be good at. You may actually suck at it. Converse that with you're doing 50% of the marketing, then I'm going to try to go over there and do marketing. Don't know the first thing. So that's why it doesn't work. The equity part works where it says, I'm going to operate in my lane, you operate in your lane, but together we reap the benefits together. That's the fairness. So if we look at, for example, a payout, is it the marketing that got the contract or is it the accounting? It's both. You need both. So we share, the equity part is we share in the distribution of the profits. That's where the fairness and equity, but never with the work. And there are things in our company that you are extremely good at, better than me. So why am I trying to go over there and gum it up? For example,
and vice versa.
You have
That's why we wouldn't have a company if it wasn't for two of us having balanced skills.
Exactly. When it comes to writing, you have a degree in literature. Okay. So why am I going to sit there and say, well, I think it should be this? And you are skilled in that area. Now, I can contribute to it, but you're skilled in that area. So that's what I meant when I talk about fairness and equity. Not necessarily equal work, or better yet, let's put it this way, not necessarily equal effort, because that's going to be individualized, but it can be equal in the sense of how we distribute the work based on our skill set, and it's equal and equitable in how we split the profits, if that makes sense, Ann.
Absolutely. And I think another, we could even break this down. This could be a whole nother episode sometime on just on equity alone, which is different kinds of equity, like equity in being heard. Kind of goes back to the hourglass or the salt timer, right? Again, which is often in a disagreement or a conflict, one person tends to kind of override, talk over the other. Not always, but sometimes. So there's an equity in actually being heard. So let the other person make their case. I have had more success in my own affairs and resolution in business with finding solutions by doing more listening than talking, right? So it's amazing how much you can deflect, or I say rather not deflect, deflate is, I think, deflate high emotion situation. Diffuse is even better word. Diffuse a high emotion situation instead of like trying to one up, is to just shut up and listen for a little while and listen. Let them get some full sentences and paragraphs out. And after a while, they're kind of looking at you like, wait, I know you disagree with me, but why are you not saying anything? They kind of get this look like, and then you're like, I totally get you. I hear exactly what you're saying. And here's what I heard you say. I heard you say that you disagree with points 1, 2, and 3 because you think that's not the best for our bottom line. Is that what I heard you saying? Yes. Okay, awesome. So on point 1, I hear you on that. And but I have a slight variation. I think we're actually in more agreement than you think on point 1.
I like
we're
that.
We're wanting the same thing. I just feel like contracting with company A has an advantage over company B, but I think we could do some metrics and let the metrics answer. Would that be a good solution for you?
Perfect. And I think that is an awesome way of getting to a solution, which actually goes to what we're talking about with respect. But then the last part, which is the K, is knowledge sharing. And what you just demonstrated is you respect the person, but then you offer an alternative and you say, let the metrics be the deciding point. In other words, let's take the human element out of it. Let's just simply look at what do the results say? And this gets us into a situation where we're not saying, well, you just don't like my ideas. No, we did a cost benefit analysis, and company A is actually going to save us $26,000 over the next year, whereas company B, because of nickel and diming and all these add-ons, is actually going to cost us $40,000. But it's these hidden costs that they don't tell you about. But and so that's where, again, you respect the person. You go, and just to recap, a win-win situation. So when I go into negotiations, I go into them thinking, how can this be mutually beneficial for both of us, Ann? So it's a win-win. Limit myself with the hourglass so that I'm not talking, 20 minutes and you only get 2 minutes and say, whoops, we're out of time.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's limiting yourself to the time, and then pointing to your example of a solution with company A and company B, knowing when to not keep insisting that you're right is the greatest negotiating talent, really. Because if I said company A and you said company B, and the metrics say company B, I'm going to honor what I said before, which was, let's let the metrics decide, bottom line, which one is potential to cost us the most money or save us the most money. And be okay with it. Maybe you can't stand working with company B. Maybe you know someone there you just can't stand. Well, you could communicate that and say, I'll tell you, one of my big reservations was I think that their communication and leadership style has a lot wanting. But if you feel comfortable with it, maybe you can say, would you be willing to be our point person with them if you're comfortable communicating with them? And if so, then I'm totally willing to go along with company B, right?
Yeah, you're
playing. So always looking for wins for them and wins for you.
That's awesome. That is awesome. One of the things that I think gets in the way with that is ego.
You think?
I know. It's ego. I want to hold on to my position of being right. Tom over there, and I'm making up this name, fictitious name, Tom, is...
Hear that, Tom? He's talking about you.
Tom is an ask hole. If you don't know what that is, listen to the episode from last week. And I don't want to deal with ask, A-S-K, holes anymore.
Fair enough. No, absolutely. No, I love it so much. It's so much fun. Those were two wonderful episodes. Don't be an ask, A-S-K, and then the other one, H-O-L-E, acronyms, both of them. Yes, no, absolutely. And I love the last point you made for this work acronym: win-win, solutions, open dialogue, R, respect others' position, K, knowledge sharing. The knowledge sharing is not limited to the disagreement at hand. Knowledge sharing is an incredible opportunity to contribute added value to the other person.
That's
if you
correct.
catch your breath or you take a sip of coffee, you're like, not straying too far from the subject, but by the way, if you need XYZ, I have a great contact there. I was just thinking of that the other day. And if you want me to introduce you guys, I'd be happy to. Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, thank you. Cool. So, okay, so back to where we were. Now see what we're doing? You're finding ways to create sharing of knowledge, to create that equity, to respect the other person, to make it win-win for them. It doesn't always have to be just the thing in the argument now. You can bring in other elements to communicate them. This is what a meta mindset is different. Meta mindset is about looking for organic opportunities to forge solutions more easily and create more profitability in the workplace, right?
That is so true. When I think about that, the last part, the case, sharing knowledge, it doesn't always mean what you know. It could mean, going back to your example of the metrics. What does the metrics say? And what if I don't like the answer? Am I willing to share it anyhow? What if I find out that I'm wrong, 100% wrong, but you don't know that yet? Do I hold on to that? This is my secret. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to share. Or do I say, and you were right. I was wrong. Let me share my findings with you. So it's being open and transparent as well.
And when you have the fortune to, as I do with you, when we have the fortune to work with someone who has the best interest in mind, and you might have a disagreement or something, but in the end they respect you and you respect them, you have such a great opportunity. And don't risk losing those relationships over petty conflicts, because if you can share knowledge, support, find an equitable solution, be willing to not have to be right all the time, you keep not only a professional acquaintance, but you keep a friend. And this is helping your entire company, your entire team situation. By the more strong connections you have, the better. So it's not just about being wrong or right in this one conversation. It's about a long-term relationship. And sometimes you don't have that good fortune, and you have to work with someone who is very stubborn, very egocentric, unwilling to compromise or make any kind of forward movement in the disagreement. In which case, you have an opportunity to kind of sit back and judge, what is the value of this conversation to you and to your business needs? Is it worth trying to win at the cost of creating an enemy? You have to think about all the cost benefits of this conversation. And sometimes, whether it's in life relationships, which we're going to talk about next, or in business, there are those moments where you have to walk away. I think both of us have had that experience in our own life, in business situations where,
and it's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. But don't just keep arguing for the sake of arguing. Decide in your own mind, like, if we get to this point, it's a point of no return for me. I don't have to be shrieking and yelling at this person, but I can be like, you know what? I totally understand how important this is to you. And I think that you will do better in this choice by me getting out of the way and allowing you space to create what you need to create, and just stepping out gracefully, right? And most people don't expect that, because human nature, like dog eat dog, lion eat lion, is that somebody always has to win, and they get all confused. And then sometimes they'll say, oh, no, I want you to stay included. No. I know I'm being unreasonable. So let's keep talking. And you're like, huh.
So there was this movie. There was this movie that makes that point, where it's the Bruce Lee story, where it's supposedly it's true, where the great martial artist Bruce Lee fought this individual named Jack Man, and it was a secret sort of tournament, but no one knew who won. And they were like, well, who won? Did you win or did he win? And they were like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think human behavior is always seeking a win. We hate, like in a boxing match, and it says a draw. A draw, no. Going to overtime. We hate when it's tied. But you think about this. We want things to be fair and equitable, but we're always rooting for there to be a definitive, unified winner. And the truth of the matter is, in business, you really do want it to be a tie, where everyone walks away feeling good about the deal. It shouldn't be like the gladiator. I killed him. Think about the terms for you. I killed it.
I know, right?
Then we say you're my partner.
I won. Amazing. Really, really good example that you just shared. I appreciate that. I'm going to think more on that even. Well, we have to go quickly to our second break. And after that, we already started our integrated pieces and pieces of our lifestyle conversation around meta mindset. But we're going to come back and wrap up today with a little more chatting around meta mindset, about how you can find better solutions to conflict and find conflict resolution in your personal life, and anywhere outside the job. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Unleash the power of focused meta mindset lunch and learn sessions. Sharpen problem-solving skills, spark innovation, foster collaboration, and build adaptability and resilience. Elevate your team's success and profits. Discover more at www.focusedmetamindset.com.
Welcome back to Focused Meta Mindset. You are watching Meta Mind Stream with Dr. Lyman Montgomery and myself. And today we're talking about conflict resolution. And we're still laughing because we were having so much fun on the break talking about conflict resolution stories. So now we get to move on to the really fun segment, which is conflict resolution in the rest of your life. It can be your boss, but in this case, we're particularly looking beyond business. And there's so much beyond business, Lyman. It's not just your significant other, right? This is family members, relatives, friends, people in your religious organization, clubs, in general, anytime, any place. I've seen some pretty major conflicts in restaurants between people who didn't even know each other.
And I think that's where the meta mindset, if you think about it, really comes into play of going beyond what is your natural inclination. Or thinking about, well, I normally would have done this. Well, let's stretch that. Let's go beyond that. Let's get out of the box and come up with what I call out of the box solutions. But we tend to always want to go back to our little cubby holes because that's a safe place in conflict.
No, absolutely. We all want to go back to our corner, regroup, and come out swinging.
I love the analogy. Yes. Time out. Okay,
Time
let me
out.
regroup.
As I just about tipped over my chair there. Okay. So, and in our personal lives, I'm just going to mention this quickly, and anyone, if you're watching, you can play with this later and take this note as well, which is again the same acronym WORKS, which is work, WORK, finding win-win situations. O, open dialogue. R, respect another's position, and K, knowledge sharing. In your personal everyday life. I'm thinking of some of those conflict resolutions I've had across my life from my childhood all the way to yesterday. And seeing how I could have done better or differently, or what I've learned about the way. What have you learned along the way, Lyman, as life has made you wiser?
I'm always sharing stories, man, and I thank God I have a wonderful life partner that allows me to be me. But as you know, we are serial entrepreneurs, and wife and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. We went out to dinner, and we were supposed to do a movie, and she had picked out the movie, and I had some work to do. And I hate to say it, but I'm gonna be honest, because this is a transparent show. I didn't get to bed till 4:30 in the morning, and she was waiting on me. And so she was a little upset with me, but we had but we worked through it. And all I needed to do was to communicate. I told her I was working on a deadline, and I didn't have my clock in front of me. I was just working. We get into our own head sometimes. And I was just working on some proposals and getting some stuff out. And before I knew it, was 4:30 in the morning. And now, I apologize, but it's more than just an apology. And it's also saying, okay, Lyman, what can I do to avoid this conflict that I created next time? And it was so easy to send her a text. Just say, honey, I'm sorry. Can we move our, movie date to Sunday? I didn't do that. So I'm still learning, y'all. So
right, there's no end to learning ever. If anyone ever has learned everything they need to know, then I will never listen to them because it's not possibly true. But I love your example because it's a real life application of where our work life and our personal life bump into each other. And the more and more that people work from home and are around family members during the workday, this happens a lot. Also, the work isn't removed from our home. So when it's the weekend and we have some downtime or we think something needs to be done, it's really easy to work. I completely relate to this. it's very hard to kind of, and I'm so over the word boundaries, you guys. Like, seriously, can someone come up with something new so I don't have to barf? They're just some words that are so overused. So, like, what is it that it's less about boundaries and more about priorities? Are we prioritizing and are we explaining? That's what I would say. One, are we prioritizing, in which case is the relationship more important than the work? If the relationship is more important than the work, but the work is literally an emergency, like you're not going to get your taxes in, then a conversation with the significant other is probably enough to buy time and set a date for next Tuesday night or whatever it is, right?
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, you can say, you are my priority. Let's just take all evening to do this, but I'm going to get up really early Sunday morning and I'm going to do the few hours of work I have left. And I want you to know that the old me would have just insisted on working because I can be a little bit of a workaholic, but I just want you to know that you're important to me, right? So even honoring the
That's
fact that
what should have happened. Yes.
Right.
That's what should have happened.
Always easier to see in retrospect.
Can I just share what my justification, because you brought up a very, very good point. Prioritizing, because she mentioned that. She didn't feel as if she was a priority. But when we had our conversation that following morning, and I explained to her the why behind what I was doing, it made sense, but I never communicated that to her. And so when you mention as far as prioritization and communication, I think they go hand in hand. And that's a very, very good point. That yes, honey, you are a priority, but if I don't consistently communicate, then you could feel as if business, money, and others is more of a priority in that moment.
Yeah, I think again, the communication is so important to avoiding unnecessary conflict, right? And I could share a bunch of my own examples as well, but but having communication in advance. So, telling people whenever I'm visiting my mother, who likes to be in the room with me like a sweet puppy all the time, and I cannot concentrate, focus, or and I'm like, okay, Mom, I tell you what, I'm going to work from 10 to 11 this morning, and then let's go for a walk and take a coffee break and hang out. But I give her expectations, and then I honor those expectations. Unless there's an emergency, I honor those expectations. Now she doesn't feel like I'm constantly kicking her out of my office. There's that there's an expectation that I'm going to work until 11, and then she can interrupt me without getting in trouble, if you will, right? So, yeah, and then it's also showing her that I prioritize our time with her, and I could easily keep working always. When can I can always keep working. You know this, Lyman. You know how you are too.
Oh yeah. We could burn both ends and the middle.
In the middle. And I'm always just waiting for the explosion. So that's another episode on balance. But
it really is. Well, I prefer to call it integration more so than balance, because how do you integrate your work and your life and the different aspects of your life? And so I could have justified and said, because this is what the ego, we just transparent on this show, y'all. This is what the ego Lyman said. Wait a minute. I got up early. I did the laundry. I stripped the bed. I folded up the clothes. I remade the bed. I took out the trash. I went shopping with you. I took you out to dinner. I did 5 things. I messed up on one. Give me credit for my 5. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, think about this. Going shopping and eating, it still benefited me. Watching a movie that she wanted to watch benefited her more so than me. But it's the closeness and the connection that she wanted. And to feel like I took time away from doing something else and made her the object of my affection, which she is.
If someone had to ask me, what was my number one pointer for conflict resolution, I would actually have to say being generous. Now, I want to qualify that, because it doesn't mean being generous does not mean being a doormat. A doormat is not a magnanimous position. Being generous is a magnanimous position, which says, I see us as equals, and I would like to offer you a gift to make this easier for you and to make the solution more attainable.
Powerful.
Being generous in that conversation can strictly be keeping your cool, legitimately, not just pretending. Keeping your cool, that can be a generous gift. Giving up small points that you're willing to negotiate on, that's a gift. That's a way to be generous. If you come to it from a point of being generous, that's a meta mindset, as opposed to the boxing ring where all I want to do is win.
That is so powerful. You know, as a former kickboxer and martial artist, I get it. I understand, you know, it's ingrained in you, win at all costs. Your job is to destroy the other person, destroy their weapons. You think about the socialization of most boys. I often say a lot of times, look at the toys, especially growing up in the 70s, all of our toys were destructive. We had Rock'em Sock'em robots. We had G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. So we had all these violent toys, right? And we wonder why we create a society of men, particularly, that thought in the sense of conquest. My wife said something the other day that was very powerful. She said a lot of times the first three letters of conquest is con. So you're really conning a person in order to win. I said, whoa. So think about that. Are we conning someone? We're con artists. And we use that con artist techniques unknowingly, it's subconscious, to get what we want. So we practice deceit. We practice infiltration of wrong information. We sabotage sometimes our own thinking, our own belief system, self-sabotage. It's because we have become our own con artists in order to conquer something or someone else. And so when she said that, it got me to thinking about how many times, Ann, have we taken an alternate route rather than being honest and transparent and say, well, maybe I can take the side door, or I'm not going to share what's really going on until I get the deal.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I love that example as well. So many great points and so many things we could expand on another time. We always just it's like Pandora's box on these shows. We're like, oh, let's talk about that. Oh, let's talk about that. Oh, that would make a great one. So yes, so let's put those in our notes. And then any of you that are listening or watching today, if any of that really resonated with you, we would love to hear you, hear your feedback, your questions. Shoot us an email. The email is streaming below, and or in the notes. You can find it. Shoot us an email. Also, if there's a topic you'd love to see us address, shoot us an email. We will write you back. We're so excited, and you, our listeners, are a big priority for us. We love working with our clients and our listeners. It's one of our greatest joys. You think we're having fun here. We even have more fun when we're working with others. So
yes.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you, of course, Lyman. And to the rest of you, share this link with someone you like, someone who could use a laugh and some great information. Like and subscribe, if you would, on whatever platform you are watching this. And we'll see you again next time. Thanks, Lyman.
Take care. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.